Hey, Mitch!
Oh, there's no Mitch. Get out of here.
What? Where's Mitch? I want to talk about Scooby Doo.
Whoa, there's no Scooby Doo. Get out of here now, you pesky kid.
Hang on a second. Hey, come over here.
What?
Let me grab that. Hang on a second. It's old man Halleck.
I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you meddling kid.
Let's just start the show. Hi, this is Ed Dollister.
This is Messy Mitch Halleck.
And welcome to another exciting episode of Mitch and Ed's Excellent Adventure. If it is your first time here, thanks so much for joining us. If you are a regular viewer, thanks for coming back. Before we begin, Mitch, how can you tell the viewers what we do here at Mitch and Ed's Excellent Adventure?
I can tell them with my mouth and vocal cords, Ed. All they have to do is simply go into an old creepy mansion and look around for stuff they shouldn't be and coming across a ghost that's probably not a real ghost. All they got to do is hit the button below, and they too will be subscribed to Mitch and Ed's Excellent Adventure and join me and Ed every time we go back looking at TV, movies, cartoons, toys, and more right here on Mitch and Ed's Excellent Adventure.
Mm-hmm. And guess where we're going? We're going to, in fact, a year before I was born, exactly, because this show debuted on my birthday a year before I was born, September 13th, 1969, and the classic TV series Scooby Doo, Where Are You? And it has been a staple of cartoons, movies, merchandise till today. It's still going strong. So, did you watch Scooby Doo, Where Are You in its original incarnation?
Yeah, okay, so I was barely conscious, more so than I am now. And the thing of it is, I do remember my older sisters, Debbie and Kim. They're like 6 to 10 years older than me. And I remember the song, Scooby, Scooby Doo, where are you? We got some... So we don't want to get like fined by YouTube. But anyway,
Right.
And my voice is heavenly. But I do remember that being on because we only had 3 channels that had programming when I was a kid, ABC, NBC, and CBS. And Saturday mornings was the time you'd come in, no school, and you'd watch cartoons from like 7 in the morning to noon, and then you'd go play with your friends. But Scooby-Doo was a thing. I mean, my sisters liked it, and I watched it probably because that was the only thing we had on because we had one TV. So yes, I do remember Scooby-Doo since I was a kid. And that's 58 years ago. So, yeah, Scooby-Doo's been around a long time, man.
It has. I remember watching it in its many incarnations over the years. I can't remember which exactly I saw first or anything like that, but I definitely saw Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? It was created by Joe Ruby and Ken Spears, who later went on to create Ruby Spears.
Well, they were working for Hanna-Barbera.
They were.
At the time. They were writers on the Hanna-Barbera cartoon production company.
Yeah, and basically the genesis of the program was there was a lot of deemed by parent groups violent shows on TV, like Space Ghost, the Herculoids, which you can...
Johnny Quest, all that stuff. Yeah.
All that stuff, and we've covered some of those as well, so if you want to find out about those...
Herculoids, one of our most popular, if not the most popular.
The most popular.
All that from those, they call them here watchdog groups. They were like these concerned moms that were thinking that little Johnny's brain was being turned into violent mush because he was watching, giant pterodactyls rip apart dinosaurs.
I know,
like,
it was
that's
crazy.
That's going to happen.
So they were thinking, what can we do? And they basically came up with a concept of a non-violent mystery show called The Mysteries 5, which was about a bunch of kids who were in a band, and in between gigs, they would solve mysteries. Yeah. And it was essentially like a combination of the Archies.
Yeah.
In fact, they had 5 members. They had a dog that was sort of like, was it a hot dog? Was that
hot dog? Was the big shaggy white dog that the Archies had.
Yeah, so they had a similar, and they were also directly inspired by, is it The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis?
Dobie Gillis was a show because I always thought that as a kid, Gilligan, John Denver, played, or Bob Denver, I'm sorry, John Denver, he was a singer.
He was on these country roads.
Yeah, no, Bob Denver was Maynard Krebs was the character's name on The Many Lives of Dobie Gillis, and he was like a beatnik at the time, which would later become a hippie, which later would become like the yuppies. It's a weird transition, but he had this little scruff, like
Yes.
a goatee around his chin, a baggy shirt, very skinny and gawky, and he kind of talked like, "Hey man, what's up, dude?" That type of sound, and basically that's Shaggy.
Yep.
And a Scooby Doo, they initially going to draw this dog, and it looked too much like the Archie's dog, which was called Hot Dog, like you said. So then they went back in and they had one of their illustrators, their animators. He drew this Great Dane,
Mm-hmm.
and they took it away. It didn't look like as fierce as a Great Dane. They made it like a smaller chin and goofy eyes, and then he had the big dummy legs, and he had spots on his back, which the Great Danes don't have. And before you know it, there he was, Scooby Doo.
And they were actually they were a little worried because they were worried that he looked a little like Marmaduke, the
Yes,
cartoon
the cartoon.
comic
Yeah,
strip character.
comic strip. Yep.
They originally had Jeff, Mike, Kelly, Linda,
Yeah,
WW
yeah.
was going
Weird
to be the
names.
Shaggy character, which I think was Linda's brother. And they had the dog, which was called Too
So
Much.
cool. Oh, it's so much. I thought it was so cool.
No,
Something
Too
like that.
Much.
Too much. Too
Yeah.
much. Yeah.
Like you're too much. It was sort of like a dynamite at the time, I suppose the same phrase. Or sit on
Yeah.
it. Anyway. So they went back to the drawing board. They got rid of the music element. They weren't a band. They dropped it down from 5 characters to 4. They
Yeah.
called themselves
Yeah, that
Mystery
there
Inc.
was that missing kid. He was the Chuck Cunningham of the early
It was. He
prototype
was the cousin
Scooby-Doo.
Oliver that
Right. They just
sort
got
of
rid
just
of him. It's like,
disappeared.
yeah, we don't need
Yeah.
you.
So essentially, they combined that with the mysteries. That a really good theme song that you alluded to earlier on, which was
Yes.
apparently they came up
Yes.
with the idea from a Frank Sinatra song. So he,
Well,
or
also there was the Archies was also a band, and they had
yes,
a song a year or so before that, and one of the tracks on it was called Scooby Doo, but it was Skooby. And I'm like,
ah,
wait, yeah. If you go to look at this record album by the Archies, the B side was called Scooby Doo, and I'm like, well, I
well
don't
there
want to
you go.
say
Well,
anything.
that's interesting because they had yeah, they at the end of one of the Frank Sinatra albums, he's
Yeah,
going Scooby Dooby Doo, scanning or
Strangers in the
whatever it
Night.
is,
Yeah, yeah,
and
that's
they kept that. So anyway, that's essentially how it was. It was a mystery of the week. It was always some develop well, not always,
yeah.
99% of the time it was some rich person trying to
Mhm.
scare off the kids or
Yeah,
shut down an amusement park or some nefarious thing which was
right.
happening. You got those backgrounds that always repeated when they were
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
their
yeah. No,
running.
they
They
were
always
stiff on yeah, they were stiff on the animation. But you know what the funnier thing is? I mean, you talk about Shaggy, that's a cool name, and Scooby Doo. They were like the Abbott and Costello of the show.
yes,
They were the ones that were always getting in trouble with the crazy hijinks and oh,
Zoinks.
good, oh, Zoinks, that type of thing. They were always afraid. Then you had the cool guy
Fred
with the
Jones.
who was
So that
Fred.
was, yeah, that was Frank Welker, who's very well
Yeah.
known as
Oh, he's still around. Yeah,
yep.
yeah, yeah. But it's funny, Fred is named, there was a guy, Fred Silverman, who's the one that was behind the network who wanted this show for Saturday morning. So I'm always like, did he name the main guy after himself? Because Fred, Fred is
I
not a
think it
hip
was named
name.
after him. You had
Yeah.
Daphne Jones,
She
you
was
had
like Penelope Pitstop. Yeah.
Velma Dinkley. Yeah, she was. She did look like Penelope
He did.
Pitstop
I
from
thought
the
that when I
Wacky
watched it, I go, wait,
Races.
that's the same model. They just,
Yep. And do you and of course you mentioned Shaggy. Do you know Shaggy's first name?
oh, isn't it like Theodore or some famous, like something cool?
Norval.
As one would be called, Norville. Yeah.
Norval Shaggy Rogers. And
Oh, Rogers.
do you know who played or voiced?
Oh, of course. It's America's Top 10, Casey Kasem. Keep your
Yep,
feet on
from
the.
American Top 40. I was blown away when I heard that.
You
I had
didn't
no
know
idea.
that?
Well, not when no. Well, I've known it for a long time, but I used
Oh.
to listen to American Top 40 and I
Oh,
still
did
listen
you?
to it.
Oh. Oh, okay.
And I did not make the connection. It was
Oh my God,
crazy.
no, he was the voice of like Robin on the animated cartoons when it
Yes.
was on the Super Friends. He was Shaggy. His voice was everywhere, just like Fred Welker. There was like certain staples of voices. And Don Messick is the voice of Scooby Doo. It's like
Yes.
Roinks, right, Rory, right. Everything. All you gotta do is put an R. Right,
Yes,
Red.
with a
Yeah,
row.
yeah. Ruh-roh. Yeah. He was around. He was like the voice of like Huckleberry Hound. and a bunch of other Hanna-Barbera characters. I don't think he did Magilla Gorilla, but they always had a
Yes.
maybe Yogi Bear. There was a whole staple of these characters, and then we had like one or two actors doing all the voices and stuff.
Yeah.
But no, he was there. I don't know who the voice of the two girls were though. I don't know Daphne
Um,
and
Daphne
Thelma.
was Stephanie Christopherson.
Oh, okay.
And then she basically, there was Heather, I can't remember the name of her.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
did it only season one, and then she moved to season two. And then for Velma, it was Nicole Jaffe. And
Oh, all right.
then
They seem to have the same
Pat
voice for
Stevens.
years.
Pat
Oh,
Stevens
okay.
played it for the that, and it actually ran for 3 seasons,
Yep.
which was really 1969 and 1970. It was a
Yeah.
huge success, and um, around the same time there was a Hardy Boys TV show that opened
Yep.
up, an animated
Yep.
series that obviously came and went, and there was so many other sort of like copycat
Oh yeah, like
style Josie
teenage
and the
kids, Josie and the
Josie and the
Pussycats. Yeah.
Pussycats.
Yeah. Well, there was Speed Buggy would come later on, then there
Yep,
was Pebbles and Bam. It was always like the teen kids, like
yep.
the wackiness. Then years later they have the Brady Bunch. There was always a show. I guess they were thinking, well, kids are watching it, so we got to make the heroes and heroines their level. So they're always about teenage or so, you know.
Yeah, and then it went on. So that was for Scooby Doo. Where Are You was like
Yeah.
the first. Then there was I think it was the all new Scooby Doo movies where they had a
Right.
lot. There was then
Oh, they would
the
meet people. They would have guest stars all the time. They would have like
Phyllis Diller.
celebrity guest stars.
Phyllis
Phyllis
Diller.
Diller. I
Harlem
remember the
Globetrotters is
Harlem
probably the most
Globetrotters was a big
famous.
one. They met. What do you call it? My God, Batman and Robin. Adam West
Yes,
was on there that time, and Larry Storch was the voice of the Joker. I remember that because he was on another show called F Troop, which was like a
yes, yes.
cowboy show, and then he'd be on later on with the Fire Out Space Nuts. I think he was on that show. No, he
And he
was on
was in
the
the Real
Real
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters. Yes, that's where I'm thinking. Larry
Not the
Storch was
real.
on
Well, the go. Yeah, he was the not the
Ghost
real.
Chasers
Oh,
or whatever.
yes. But
Whatever.
they also had later on Kiss
Yeah,
in
yeah. Well,
in a
that was
Don
years later.
Knotts. Don Knotts was
Dude, they would have
just
Jonathan Winters, Don Knotts, Karen Valentine, all these like 70s TV stars, if you want to call them
yep,
that. It's like, oh my God, it's Telly Savalas. Hey
yep.
kids, how you doing? Who loves you, baby? But I don't think he was ever on there. I'm making that one up.
But he could have been.
He
If he
could have
was, I'll
been.
say I'll put it up here. But so then it went on. Each season, would run for a year or two, and of course, then they
Yeah.
had reruns. They had the Scooby Doo show. Later on in 1979, they started with the Scooby Doo and Scrappy-Doo
Oh well,
show.
no, you're jumping ahead there. There was Scooby's cousin, was Scooby Dumb, I think it was called. Literally, they had this guy who looked like Scooby instead of brown. He was like a grayish color, but he was like a southern hillbilly type dog. I mean, it was like, okay, I guess dogs have accents or something, dialects, but that was that one there. They also met up with a guy called Blue Falcon and
Oh, I
Dynamut. That was I love Dynamut because he
I
was
hated
basically
Dynamite.
Oh, I love Dynamite. He was a robot dog and the
Yeah.
Blue Falcon. It was what it was. But yeah, there was a lot of dogs on TV, but not as good as Scooby Doo. And then, like you were just about to mention, the Antichrist himself came aboard. The cousin Oliver of the Scooby
Yeah.
Doo show. Say his
Scrappy-Doo.
name, Ed. Say it.
I don't want to say it 3 times in case he appears, but
Scrappy
Scrappy-Doo.
Doo with puppy power.
Yeah, that's
Oh
right.
God. Who thought that was a good idea? The
Well,
networks did.
I like that they used when they did the movie back in which they actually filmed up in Queensland with um
Oh, Freddie Prinze Jr.
Freddie
and
Prinze
Sarah Michelle
Jr. Yeah,
Gellar.
that's
Yeah,
right.
written by
Um,
James Gunn, actually.
Crazy, I know, but they had Scrappy Doo as the main villain. They
Yeah, he
spoilers, which
was.
was kind
Yeah,
of weird. It's
yeah.
weird watching that film, seeing so many Australian actors doing bad American accents in it.
Oh
So
well, no, Linda what's her name?
Cardellini,
Catalini, and then
yeah,
Matt Illard. He's Shaggy.
Matthew Lillard, yeah,
Matt Lillard. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
and Buffy herself.
yeah. I was Casey Kasem in that movie. Did he have a
No,
cameo?
no,
Oh, I thought he had a small part in it.
I
But
don't.
anyway,
I'm pretty sure he didn't, but I know he stopped. Oh, maybe. Well, he stopped voicing it in the early 2000s. So
Yeah, but maybe he
maybe
was
he.
there. But I'm gonna say that cartoon show, it was weird Saturday morning cartoons because we had like the Super Friends, and then we went through all these live action shows like the Hudson Brothers and the Bay City Rollers had their own show on Saturday morning TV. But Scooby Doo was like the staple. He was like the Mickey Mouse. It's like
Yeah.
you said it, he kept changing. There was always a new iteration of it. It's like, oh, well, this time he's doing this, and this time he's doing with Scrappy-Doo. But then they wrote out Fred and Thelma and what do you call it? Daphne. They were off
Daphne.
the show for a while. It was just Shaggy and Scooby
Yep.
and some adventures. I'm like, well, I guess,
And
maybe
his good
contract
old
negotiations.
Scooby snaps snacks.
Yeah, yeah, there was something going on with those Scooby snacks
Oh, there
too.
definitely was. There definitely. Well,
There's drugs in there.
Casey Kasem was a vegetarian, so he
Oh,
made sure that Shaggy was a vegetarian.
really? I did not know that.
Yeah.
I did
So
not
there
know
you
that.
go. So
And what was the name of their van, the Mystery
the
Machine?
the Mystery Machine, I think they've got in Los Angeles the actual like mock-up
Oh,
of
from
it.
the
And
movie.
when I was at Universal Studios,
Yeah,
they had the life-size one where you could meet real life
Scooby.
versions of the Mystery Five, which was really
Oh, really? They had
so
actors dressed as
yes,
them?
which was
Yeah.
really nice. There was back in the day, quickly there was some merchandise. There was a board game,
Oh, there's tons of
comics, and
Scooby
things
stuff.
like that. And
Yeah,
obviously
comics.
through our
Yep.
time, there's a lot more, action figures and everything like that.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but it's
But
easy to catch. It's easy to find. It's got a lot of those tropes. Yeah, obviously I would have gotten away with it if
if
it
it
weren't
wasn't for
for
you meddling
those meddling
kids, yeah,
kids.
yeah.
Velma would always lose her glasses and couldn't see things. Which did
And
you
I
know
always thought,
actually
what?
originated because during the read through, the voice actress actually dropped her glasses and couldn't read the
I
script properly, and they
I didn't
added that
know.
in.
I always thought Fred was going out with Daphne. I don't know if there was any truth to this, but I was like those two hooked up.
Oh, I think they did.
And I thought,
Well, if the mystery machine's rocking, don't bother
don't bother
knocking.
knocking. Well, I thought Thelma and wanted Shaggy, but Shaggy was like incel. He didn't want anything. He was just alone with that dog a lot. And I do believe there's a lot of drugs going on. I do think so, but they didn't acknowledge that. They did hint at it in the movie because
Mm.
they show there's smoke coming out of the van, and it's like a Cheech
But
and
then they
Chong
were
movie.
making, they were
They were making
making.
hot dogs and they
I
were
know,
cooking food on a hibachi and stuff like that.
I
But yeah,
know, I know.
Scooby
But
Doo doesn't go.
it's a great fun series. Each they added songs to it as well. Like during the
I
chase
often wonder
scenes.
about those songs. Like, what if somebody took those and
Mm.
didn't tell anybody they were from a kid's cartoon and put them on the radio? Would they have actually been top 40 hits?
I don't know. They might have. Well, the Archies, as you said, had
Sugar,
Sugar
sugar.
Sugar.
Yeah.
And the lead singer of the, do you know the lead singer of the Archies also,
No.
also sang, Beach Baby by First Class.
Beach
Beach
Baby,
Baby,
Beach
Beach Baby.
Baby.
Same
Don
person.
Kirshner, I think the record promoter, he's the producer on those albums. If you go look, there's a famous guy doing that stuff. I don't know if maybe it's him. I don't know. Josie and the Pussycats was one I used to watch too, thinking, well, is this like a real band? I mean, who's writing these
That's right.
songs?
And then Josie in Outer Space. Remember that?
Well, yeah, she had a cat. The cat's name was Sebastian. They didn't have a dog. They had a cat.
Yeah, they were all cute. Those.
You know what's the
Yeah.
weirdest Scooby-Doo one is when they made them little kids. Remember there was like Muppet Babies
Yeah.
and everybody was like in the mid 80s. There was like everything's going back to Lil, Lil, Lil
Yeah.
and Mitch and they did that with the Scooby-Doo people. There was like a pup named Scooby-Doo, I believe it was called.
Yep.
And they were all kids hanging up. They didn't drive a car though. That would have been awkward.
It would have. It would have.
No. You know
Oh,
what? They actually made a live action TV show. I don't know if it was on down there, but it was on the CW here for a while.
was it?
Recently, maybe like 6 years ago. It was like Scooby. And then they did a new show with this Thelma, but there's no Shaggy and
Oh,
Scooby on it. It's
that's
the new version. It's
apparently
on
awful.
HBO. Yeah, I've heard a lot of true Scooby-Doo fans are not big fans of it,
That's right. With I've forgotten the actress's name from The Office. Mindy Kaling
Oh, she's oh really? I never
is
watched
Velma.
it, but I was like, oh,
Yeah.
well, that's interesting.
Well, you know
But
what's
no,
hopefully something that you do watch?
I'm gonna say Us
Yes,
because you want to know all about that Scooby-Doo.
absolutely. And how can you do that, Mitch?
Oh, Ed, it is simply as getting afraid of a ghost that looks amazingly like the cranky neighbor up the street who's been trying to swindle your grandmother out of the property she owns because secretly there's a pirate's treasure buried right underneath her couch.
That
Oh,
sounds
yeah.
exactly like an episode. That's great.
Ed, it's the plot line that you see one Scooby Doo, you've seen them all.
Yep.
Even though the ghosts were great, like the haunted under deep sea diver, I actually have that
Yes.
Funko Pop over there. It's really freaking cool, but it's still
Yeah, they
stupid.
had like the abominable snowman, they had
There was a
pirates, monsters.
the opening sequence. All you had to do was watch that because all the ghosts would show up in the corner. There'd be like these, not a lot of animation going on, but they would just shoot these frames and stuff. But the thing that I was going to tell you, there was a Scooby Doo version at one point where it was for real and people did die on the show. It wasn't like, oh, Mr. Jenkins. Anyway, there's a lot of Scooby Doo. You can go out there, literally, I think you can watch a new type of Scooby Doo show every single day for a year and not ever watch it twice. But all you got to do back to us is just simply subscribe to Mitch and Ned's Excellent Adventure, and you can watch about Scooby Doo, Herculoids, you name it. We got
Johnny
it. We got
Quest,
everything. Everything. Sigmund the
Coast
Sea
Ghost, Sigmund and the
Ghost.
Sea Monsters. Yep, all those things. So
Yes.
signing off for this week. This is Ed Dollister,
And this is Spooky Mitch Halleck.
and
That's
we'll
it.
see you next time. Thanks for watching.